Hey friends out there, Rob here. Today I want to talk to you about gear in 2026. What gear do I still use 2026? This will be important for anybody that's new to live streaming or maybe you just want to come along for the ride. So it should be a lot of fun. Definitely this is about live stream mobile rigs, but as you know, this can be used for so much more. So let's jump right into it right now. First of all, this is the minimum setup that I use. There are a couple of additions that happened in the end of 2025 that really made my single camera, single crewman workflow work a lot better. And the first addition to that is the YoloCam S3. This little guy right here is absolutely amazing, and I'll show you how and why I use it here in a second. But I've been able to replace an additional camera directly. Now, that doesn't mean for everything. For some things you need two dedicated cameras, but this small webcam, it's really not even fair to call the YoloCam S3 just a webcam, does so much more. It's such a good sensor, such a good image. I absolutely love it. And it plugs right in and works with YoloBox Extreme and Pro and everything else. You can even change the settings, which is cool. So, number one pro tip for me, for my single camera stuff, I was able to reduce down to one complete camera setup, but I have two cameras. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The hub of everything, again, though, everything that we're going to be talking about is going into YoloBox. Generally speaking, I use Extreme. I use Extreme because it has the most inputs, has the most robust outputs, has the longest battery life, has the best CPU and processor, and I can do everything I want in it. I even produce full podcasts, video podcasts for different shows in Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads directly on YoloBox. I have all of my titles and screens, all my graphics for each client that I've got already in there. I can set up and save programs to an extent. I can customize my views. I can have my pre-rolls, my bugs, my poppers, my stingers, all of that stuff in there already. If there's any sponsored spots that we'll have, I can actually play those sponsorships or videos during the podcast, which we are not live streaming. We're just recording everything internally to YoloBox, which means then I have a deliverable that's ready to share because I'm recording internally to YoloBox with all the edits that we've made as if it was recorded live. This is great. One of the things that it does very well is handle the audio with robust audio routing through the audio panel, which you can see right here. We'll talk a little bit about that more because I actually have multiple different audio inputs that I use on location. And the Tascam Portacapture X8 is one of them. So the Portacapture X8 gives me up to 8 channels of additional audio that I can bring in. It's a 32-bit float recorder, which means that, yes, I am recording internal to YoloBox, but I'm also recording internal to all of my devices. So if I'm using a camera or a camcorder or something, they will always be recording internally. Memory card space is cheap. Pressing the button is free. It doesn't cost you any money to have the insurance of a backed up high-def 4K image from the capture device. No need to use it because YoloBox is going to do a good job. But if for some reason the customer wants it, I can do something extra with those that additional media. In any event, this is the same with audio. So although I've got 32-bit up to 192 kilohertz or whatever, 96, whatever it is, I don't ever use that. I will use 32-bit float and 48K resolution in my recordings. But because I have this right here, I've actually got 6 outputs that I can use. Inputs really. I've got 4 XLR combo jack inputs with 1/4 inch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 all use the XLR or combo 1/4 inch jack, which is nice. You can receive a line or a mic level signal, everything that you want. I have the 2 inputs up here, which could get room tone, or what I like to use these for is for my talkback, so that if I have anything I want to say or record, they get recorded to their own track. But because these come off, I can actually attach a wired or wireless device directly to it because it's just 1/8 inch stereo jack, the 3.5 millimeter jacks on how these plug in, and it works great. In this instance, I've got it set up for a couple of Sennheiser XSWD wireless microphones. These work well whether you're working with a handheld mic or whether you're working with a cable. This red one right here is specifically for XLR. It pairs with that one, but they also have them for lavaliers, for microphones. The reason that I like them is because there's nothing to set. There's no gain to add. They're always at a plus 12 decibel gain state, which means that when you plug it in, you don't have to fiddle with adjusting unity on the device before it goes into the task cam because there is no gain. It just has one level. So it's basically just sending out a single level. I like that. It makes it easy. It's just one less step. But they don't do very well because they're only a 10 milliwatt device. They don't do very well when they're trying to pass through objects or go through walls, outdoors and things like that. So I use them inside, generally speaking. But this setup gives me the ability to accept XLR, quarter inch, whether it's a cable, whether it's a wireless device, it doesn't matter. And when I go, I do use Rode pod mics. So I've got 6 pod mics that we'll hook up. Most of the time, we'll just use a bunch of these Sennheiser XSWDs, XLRs, connect straight to the back of them, and it works great. A dynamic microphone is what these are really rated to work with, or a cable. Just plug one end of the cable in to the cable and the other end to whatever you've got, and it's like an extender. And they're pretty cool. I do use things like the Rode. Well, actually, I don't use the Rode mic, wireless mic, or the Rode. I can't think of what it's called now because I'm saying Rode too many times. Drinking game, have fun with it. But instead, I use the Hollyland. I like Hollyland Lark, the Lark Max. That's because it's got a higher transmission rate. It's equivalent to about 20 milliwatts. I think it's really like 15 EIRN, but these are specifications that change every year when each manufacturer tries to reduce power but boost output. So they come up with new specifications, or they use a different specification. Basically, anything that's got at least 20 milliwatts or more will be better than your consumer stuff, which means you'll get better transmit and further distances. So when I look at wireless mic systems, other than these, Sennheiser XSWDs, I only buy 20 milliwatts or higher. I need better transmission power. You do you. As we continue the walk around, that just fell. As we continue the walk around, it's now time to talk about the camcorder. Okay, so the camcorder that I use, people ask me all the time, Rob, why are you using a camcorder? Well, I use a camcorder for the same reason that you would expect. It's a 20 times zoom on this thing, which gets me 4K 60 at 20 times zoom. You can't beat that with built-in channels. I got 4 channels of audio right here. It's just a powerhouse built-in neutral density filters. This is what fits my need, indoors or outdoors, it doesn't matter. I use camcorders. I use a lot of camcorders. If you want to use a mirrorless camera, that's okay. Sometimes people say, oh, you have to use this. Don't tell me what I've got to use. I'm sharing with you what I use. I'm not asking you for advice on what to use. I use this because I need to get distance. Where's the last time you saw a 400 millimeter lens, f4 lens, that you were going to carry around? You didn't. Let's put that clear. You didn't, right? It's expensive, so that's why. So I use this setup, and I use camcorders because it's the tool that does the job everywhere, pretty much all the time. Yes, of course. Do I need the Sony a7 IV for something? Sure, of course I do. Why not? But when I don't need it, I'm using a lot of capability in a small package that doesn't give me a lot of reach. I mean, I can set a camcorder up, point it in one direction, press go, and its face detect will find every face that comes into the screen, or area detect, and it'll run for 6 hours on the beach in 102-degree weather. And just record, as long as I got my SD cards plugged in, right? So, duh, everybody has different requirements for what they want to do. You're not doing that with most camcorders on the beach, or cameras on the beach. So if you're not interested, if you haven't considered a camcorder, consider them. You do have a trade-off in low light, but if you understand just photography principles, you can mitigate those quite a bit. So this is my standard rig, but you might see something right here. This is actually my phone. I've got my phone hooked up because it will, I'm not going to plug it in right now because it will automatically begin drawing current and I don't want it to charge. But it provides a direct link for USB tethering when I'm on location, right? So this guy right here provides that millimeter wave. And in my area, bonding is something that I could do if I wanted to, but just this, I got T-Mobile, it's really great in the area that I'm at. I'm in a built up military industrial area. So there's cell towers everywhere. Sometimes, used to be back in the day, I would have some problem down at the ocean front because it was in the flight path of Oceania where I would do weddings, but not so much anymore. And with bonding, you can With bonding, a bonding program turned on or activated for YOLObox, through YOLObox, you can actually use all of its internet connections at once. So you can use the wireless USB dongle like a tether, you can use the Wi-Fi, you can use the Ethernet, and you can use the internal SIM card. All four of those connections can be accessed at one time in order to maintain a signal and really give you some good propagation and some reliability. I don't necessarily need that. When I go to an area that I do, I buy a 1-month plan from YOLO Live. I forget what the pricing is, but that's up to you. So this is what I consider my mobile setup. One camera. Notice I said one camera, but I'm showing two. The smaller camera right here, I'll come over to it. We got USB 2. Hey, you see me in the background. That camera right there is actually detachable, right? You see that? And this is important. It's so nice. What I normally do, and well, just because of the way I'm doing stuff right now, I did not include it. I usually have a monopod, and I'll put the monopod next to this rig, and then I will just simply move this from where it is here onto the monopod. And if you could imagine, it's tethered via a USB cable, right? But if you can imagine, that gives me about 6 feet of movement or freedom. And in that area, I get this wide angle from this camera, but then I can pan, tilt, and zoom with my main camera. I believe if you're going to do a live stream or any kind of event like this, you should have at least 2 cameras. And it doesn't matter if the 2 cameras are co-located most of the time, as long as they can do independent things, like one can be zooming and the other can be panning, especially if you're doing something live, because you may need to reposition your main camera, and this is heavy. So if you have to reposition because you realize you set up in the wrong spot, and in the next act, people are going to be coming in your area because you set up incorrectly, then you'll have to hop. You have to move your camera and then move the monopod, and then move the camera and then move the monopod. And you can do that seamlessly just by switching between the different angles and moving whatever you need to move in between time. It works really, really well. But we're not done there. This is something that I would use mainly for like a funeral live stream or a small event live stream, not anything where I might want it to be a little bit more dynamic. A funeral works. Unfortunately, we still have funerals when we're live streaming. You know, it's sad when I get a phone call for funerals, because I know, although it's work for me, it's sadness for someone else and possibly release for them. So it's bittersweet. But in order to provide that good service, I always want to provide 2 cameras. I used to use my next favorite camera, which is the OBSBot Tail 2. This is the big one. Now this is a pan, tilt, zoom, and rotate, so your horizon is always level. Battery powered, 4K 60, monster. It's about a 1-inch sensor. It's a little bit smaller than a 1-inch sensor. It's excellent with all your inputs and outputs on the back. The thing I like about these is I can hang them from the roof or someplace on a rafter with a cable and a hook like I've shown you, or a clamp like I've shown you in the past. And then with a wireless HDMI transmitter, I can send that signal. But I used to use that system I used to use these 2 cameras. And even before this one, I would use 2 camcorders. So as you can see, for my small mobile setup, I've gone from a 2 camcorder setup to a camcorder and a Tail 2 setup, now to a camcorder and a YOLObox, YOLO Live S3 setup, simply because it makes that one mission, my main mission of being mobile on location, easier. I used to work for a company back in the day called VA2A News, do some reporting on Second Amendment issues here in Virginia. And I would do image collection and capture for them. Sometimes I would do some reporting for them. And although at some point in time I got something similar to YOLObox, I might have even began using YOLObox, the original one, a little bit. Wouldn't I have loved to have had these cameras at the time? Because I was always having to deal with a 1-camera setup where I had to try to show everything without a jarring situation. I would have loved to have had something like this, you know, back in the day in 2018, 2017. That would have been great. Okay. We've talked a lot about that. I think I want to get into a little bit more of how I put this gear together for you to work. And let's put it this way. When I get called for a corporate event, and the corporate event is something like an award ceremony, or better yet, not an award ceremony. Let's say it's a training session, a seminar, like Delta Hotels might be having their local director of marketing meeting where they're going over new sales plans. Obviously, I can't share that with you, but here's the example. They're going to set up and have a sound booth where they've got people running sound. Usually it's in one of their hotels, one of their conference halls, and so they've got a small sound area. That sound area is going to provide microphones for them, which is great because they have that on site. They also have in-house amplification, and they may even have some spotlighting. This is great. So for me, on something like that, what happens is I bring one camcorder and I bring 3 tail 2s. Okay, so now I've got 4 camera angles. I put the tail 2s on tripods in different areas, and sometimes even on the stage in a place that you can see where the tail 2 might be moving, but it's kind of offside, like, you know, the back view over the CEO's shoulder while he's speaking from the podium and the lights are on him or her. You know, that's cool stuff because tail 2 will follow people with really great AI sensitivity. And because of that, I can tell one camera to track whichever person I want. Now, I can't do any of that from YOLObox. I have to do it from an app on my phone, which is another reason that I'll have my phone here, because although it can tether, obviously, I can also monitor each one of my Ozbot cameras, my tail 2s, and I can use the Ozbot Start app or the Ozbot Live app. I don't have to use Stream Live, but it will give me a preview of all the cameras that are in the area that I'm using, which is pretty great. Okay, in that situation, I need to run sound, right? So this is where these XSWDs come in handy. The soundboard is as simple as just plug and play. They can give me whatever out they need, or whatever out they have. So if they have an RCA out, which would suck, I can take their RCA out. I mean, I guess it's okay, but I've got the connection. So I can do XLR, RCA, 1/4 inch, 3.5 millimeter, which is 1/8 of an inch. Either one of them works fine. If they give me stereo, I prefer it because I can record it stereo. In fact, I can do a lot of different things wirelessly. But let's say for some reason the wireless isn't working on one of my systems. No problem. Because I'm using 3 of the tail 2 cameras, I can very easily post myself by the sound desk and just get a wired connection out and still have all of the maneuverability that I need for this. This tripod gets to be 7 feet tall. I can get a platform that's 2 feet. I can get 9 feet in the air if I need to, and I can follow everybody, which means excellent work. You might say, well, what do you do about low light stuff? That's true. Low light does affect camcorders because they have smaller sensors. But let's think about what that is. This has an f4.5, so it's 2.8 to 4.5. So I can get 20 times zoom at a 4.5 aperture. That's pretty great. I've got an ISO equivalency range in my high sensitivity mode up to easily usable up to 6400, right? So we know that with those things involved, you should be hearing in your head, well, shoot, even with an f4 lens inside at nighttime with a shutter speed of, 1/50th of a second, yeah, I can make ISO 3200 work. Yeah, there you go. And the noise reduction and things in these smaller cameras or camcorders really works well. All I can share with you is I sell it all the time. People love it. Sounds great. Now, I've created custom profiles to make it easier for me. And that lends to the question, what about custom profiles on YOLObox? Well, it's simple. They just look good, right? So most of the times, the custom profile for this is to take it from a cinematic concept of a documentary and make it more deliverable. So if I'm working with someone that wants an immediate deliverable, I use one of my more deliverable ready. I just make sure that my white balance is the same and that I've got similar exposures through all of them. One of the things I would like to see is an exposure chart or lumetri scopes come to YOLObox. They don't have it. I wish they did because the Extreme is so powerful. It has it. And that would be able to show you what each camera angle is seeing so that you could set your exposure better. But we were talking about audio, so back to the audio side. Once the audio comes in here, how do I get the audio into YOLObox? Now, this is something I do all the time. You can do it your way. I've had people have lots of opinions. All I can tell you is that I've been doing this for over 15 years, guys. So I do it and I've learned a lot over the years. And so I haven't heard anything for me that works better than what I'm doing. That doesn't mean that what I'm about to share with you is the only way to do it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you don't know a better way to do it and you want to try my way and see if it works for you, that's great. But I don't want to hear about your way, not right now, because I've probably heard it in the past 15 years of running sound and working with bands and everything else. If you're a broadcast producer and you've got a better way to do it, then yes, tell me about it. If you work for bands and you do live streams, yes, tell me about it. But if you just started streaming for your church and you found a better way, I probably don't want to hear about it. Does that make sense? Like, if you've got the experience to do it better, you can let me know. But until then, here's how I do it. Okay. Why did that sound so long? It's because of the comments I get. So for those of you that are sticking with me, I appreciate it. Once that sound comes out of the soundboard, I always ask the engineer to give me a signal at line level, right, that is also reduced in volume by about 10 decibels, okay? I don't do that for my collection. I do that for how I send it. So when they send me that out, I can look and see where my levels are, how it connects to YOLO box through the camcorder. Because what I will do is I will take all of my inputs. Remember, I've got 6 inputs. And yes, it is true, I may take the mic output from the sound desk, but I may also put some wireless mics up there at the podium. I may also put a wireless mic at the table where the CEO is, right? And I'm monitoring with my headphones. They're around here somewhere, here, right? So I may want to switch mics that they don't have used, right? So because of that, I've got 6 channels that I'm using, and I'm actively mixing each one of them while this is going. I then sum those channels on my output, which is a line level output that, I should put it here, that's the wrong spot, that sends that line level output into the camcorder. The camcorder has 2 XLR inputs, so I send my line level output to the camcorder as a stereo pair, left and right. Basically, actually, yeah, exactly like that. I send the same signal to both left and right. So it's not a stereo pair. It's like a dual mono, summed dual mono. Once it gets over here, it goes into my different inputs. So now I ask the sound desk to give me a check tone. They'll usually give me 1,000 kilohertz, a 1 kilohertz tone, 1,000 kilohertz. So usually give me a 1 kilohertz tone at -6 decibels. But I'll ask them to tell me what they're sending it to me. They'll just read their board. Usually it's -6. I will then set my gain here on Tascam Portacapture X8 for that input to be at -6. I will then look at my camcorder on my camcorder's my camcorder's levels, meters, and I will adjust them to be -6, right? And if I have to do something to the input, if I have to balance the input a little bit differently in the menu, I'll do that as well. Once the Portacapture X8 is receiving this -6 decibel signal, and I've set my camcorder up to also be receiving, because the sound is going from the desk, from the source, which is the person speaking or doing the check tone, into the collector, which is their microphone on stage, to the sound desk, where the amplification gets boosted to an output level that they're sending me, which they tell me, which is usually -6 decibels, into the Portacapture X8, which is set to -6 decibels, into my camcorder, out from the Portacapture, through the line out into the XLR inputs on my Panasonic HCX or AGCX 350, set to -6 decibels while all this tone is playing. I then tell YOLO box, which is connected to the camcorder via the HDMI, to use the camcorder's audio, an HDMI 5 or whichever one is plugged into, as the main audio. I turn off audio follows video, and I turn off all other audio. So the only audio that is being sent to YOLO box is through the HDMI from the sound desk, which means that the audio signal has already been processed by my camcorder. That means it's already been synced. Okay, these all have digital audio conversions. Audio is much faster than video when it's being sent downstream. So most of the time you'll have a delay audio. You might need to delay your audio so that it arrives at the same time as your video. Sometimes you can run into that problem, and YOLO box gives you an opportunity to do that. There's an audio delay button around here somewhere on one of them. Yeah, you push delay, right? And then you can set the delay up to basically half a second. Great. I don't need to do that in this setup because the audio is tied to this camcorder and that video signal is being synced with all of my other input signals, right? So the other input signals from whatever other cameras that I'm using are all being synced by YOLObox's clock, and I'm only using one source of audio which has already been synced to the video that it's attached to. So the camcorder is syncing all my audio with its video, YOLObox is syncing all of the video to the video, and the video that I'm using has audio, so everything syncs up nicely. Okay. That's how I do it every single time. That's how I've done it for over 1,000 events. I mean, I'm being dead serious. 15 years of doing this, been using YOLObox for at least 5, maybe a little bit. I got started using YOLObox on version 1.2. So whenever YOLObox with 1.2 was, I look back, I think we're going on 5 years now, 4.5 or 5 years, or maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. But I've been using them ever since then. And that means, right, that I'm now getting exactly the type of synchronization that I want. What about the other images? What about the other devices? Well, depending on what I'm using, they will also be collecting some kind of sound or scratch audio. So the Talent, or I keep saying Talent, the Tail 2 does not have an internal microphone. So you have to connect a lav mic or something to it. I just use a little lav mic, and where I have it, I just drop it so that it can pick up audio. It's just scratch audio anyway, for if I need to make something on post-production with it. Yeah. Let me think about real quick if there's anything else I can share with you about how I do this stuff. I think that's about it. Oh, I'm glad I did. Lighting. Okay. Lighting. I'm going to say it again. Lighting. If you're doing video for an event, it doesn't matter if they say they've got their own lighting director and yada, yada, yada. Is your reputation going to be broken because of someone else's incompetence, not knowing, or plan? It's as simple as that. Okay? So, you don't want light? Great. Don't bring a light. This is what you're stuck with. Check that out. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. I hope what I'm saying is it is your responsibility to bring lighting that you need. Here's a small light. It might be hard to see. Good, you can see it. Look what it's doing here so that you can see. This is accent lighting. It's not even in the shot. If you have a podium and it's clear, light it up. Light it up with a light, right? People love it. Find a light that's complementary for what they're doing, even just a bright light, a white light. Put it underneath the podium and just allow it to shine straight up. You can put some flowers in front of this or a little placard or something. It's on the ground. Remember, we're talking about a clear, one of those plexiglass podiums. Put this at the bottom, turn it on, and with it just being white light, not even a color, and the entire podium will begin to glow, and it will give a nice small uplight to whoever's there. What about a rim light? Do you see the side of me over here? Can you kind of see? Yeah, what happens if there's no rim light? Okay, no rim light. I kind of get lost in the background. Okay, add some rim light. Boom, now the side kind of cuts out a little bit. You can kind of see it some. Let me make it a little more apparent for you. What about that? Is that a little bit easier to see now? Maybe? You can kind of feel it on my face. In any event, what about from the front? Don't ever use stupid monster colors, but you bring lights is what the point that I'm getting at. You bring lights to make sure that you can accent light and pop your subject out from the background or whatever it is that they're doing. So you need that kind of stuff. So don't be fooled. There's so much more going on with what you're doing than what people think you do and what you might think you do. If you're running a videography business, you're really running a full production studio. You need everything for lights, camera, action. And that's microphones, cameras, lights, and sometimes makeup. And you shouldn't be afraid to tell whoever you're talking to that they, to ask them to help adjust them. Oh, your collar, you should always be thinking about how they look. Because when they see what you make, if they look goofy, it's your fault. They will, I guarantee you, they'll call it your fault. Anyways, there's been so much stuff that we've talked about. I hope that you have enjoyed this video so far. If you have, don't forget to like, subscribe, grab some gear using my links below, and I'll catch you on the... If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. So that brings us to an end. We've talked about a lot of stuff. If you found this helpful or useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember to use my links down below. It just helps support me. Send me a case of beer or some coffee through PayPal. I'd love it. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye for now.